If you're ambitious but inconsistent, then this video is for you. Because not too long ago, I used to be a PE teacher who hated his job. I managed to use my ambition to consistently take action towards my goals, which led me to now being in Brazil, earning 10K per month with my online business as a 25-year-old. So in this video, I'm going to tell you how to avoid the pain of being ambitious but inconsistent. So the first thing that you need to understand is that you basically have 3 goals in life. There are 3 things you need to optimize in order to live a good and fulfilling life. The first is the wealth goals. You basically need to make sure that you are never running out of any money. Because when you do run out of money, there will be big problems. The second thing you have to optimize for is basically your health goals. You need to make sure you get enough sleep. You need to make sure that you eat healthy. You need to make sure that you have enough exercise. Because basically without them, you are not vital, you are not really energetic, and you cannot enjoy your life. Like without your health, what do you really have? Basically like nothing, right? The third you have to optimize for is your relationships, because humans, they are social creatures after all, and you need relationships to like fulfill that inner desire that you have. And when you think about it, everything is relationships, because everything is connected to each other. Like you are not alone on this world, and even if you were alone in this world, then there still are connections, there still are relationships, because you have the relationship with the air that you're breathing, you have a relationship with the foods that you're eating to stay alive. And at first I thought, you know what, I am first going to focus on my health goal or my wealth goals, because if I just earn a lot of money, then 98% of my problems would be solved. I removed basically like everything else, including health and relationships. But what I noticed was that wasn't sustainable for longer than 30 days. Because after that I burnt out, I quit, lost all momentum, and in business, momentum is everything. If you are not building any momentum, then you are not seeing results. It wasn't until I started to allocating some time and energy towards basically my health and my relationships. When I started to do that, then it was sustainable. So I just was still focused on my wealth goal, but I still made 10% for my core relationships, for my good friends, for my family, and I spent time on my health. Like I was working out, I was taking long walks every single day. I made sure I slept like 8 or 9 hours every single day. So as soon as I started to allocate some time and energy towards my relationships and towards my health as well, my focus was more sustainable. Like after this, I was able to sustain this level of focus for like 100 days. And if you can focus really hard for 100 days, then you build so amazing like momentum basically, and that momentum allowed me to see huge results. I only got my first paying client for $100 in March, and then in November I hit my first 10K month. So it only took 7 months of focus, but I wasn't focused the whole entire time. Even because I didn't have perfect focus that entire time. Like still there were some times where I wasn't productive for like a whole week. I still did some things, but like it only takes like 7 months to go from 0 to 10K per month. And that was only because my focus was sustainable. I wasn't burning myself out, because I allocated some time towards my health and my relationships as well. So the important thing to know is like you have to like find your focus, find your ideal balance in a way. And for me, first to get to 10K per month, it was basically like 10% health, 10% relationships, and 80% the wealth goals. Now I am in Brazil, my focus shifted a bit, because for a very long time I said like, oh, I want to hit 10K per month. Now I finally hit it. What I've done now is I've changed my balance a bit. So now it's not 80%, 10% anymore. Now the balance is I am still working a lot on my business, so that is like 60% on my business. I am still ambitious. I want to hit 100k per month by the end of the year. But then 15% is for health. I spend more time towards my health goals. I'm taking swims at the beach, I'm working out at the beach, being like more in nature, eating great foods, and I also have a girlfriend now, so I allocate like 20% of my focus towards relationships. This is really all about finding that ideal balance for you, like what kind of season is it? And that brings us to the next point, which is that life, it basically goes in seasons. You are not a machine, you are not a robot. There are some periods when you feel more on top of your game, and there are periods where you feel like very low, like very demotivated and stuff like that. And that is normal, it happens all of the time. Like what used to happen for me is when I was like very motivated, I just was very focused, working 80, sometimes even 100 hours per week. But then when I was feeling like kind of a bit shitty, then I was like a very low, like I didn't do the work and I lost all of the momentum. What I started to understand was like you cannot force yourself to work really hard all of the time, like it just doesn't work like that. So what I started to do was I basically started to work in different types of modes. When I was feeling on top of it, when I was very motivated, when I was making a lot of progress, the mode that I was in was the intensity mode. In the intensity mode, I just did everything in my power to complete each and every single task. Like I was just locked in. From the start of my day until the end of the day, all I did was work. All I was thinking about it is work. That is the intensity phase. But then sometimes when I wasn't feeling it, when I was very demotivated, I switched not to the intensity but the consistency phase. So in the consistency mode, I basically made an agreement with myself to do the absolute bare minimum. What is the least I could do in order to maintain the momentum that I've already built? Because momentum is very difficult to build and very easy to lose. Like you just don't do anything and you lose it. What that looked like is I created a minimum viable effort system. You know, a system is a routine of habits all put together in a way that will allow you to make huge progress towards your goals, like the high leverage tasks. The system that I made, it looked something like this. First of all, I needed to do the delivery, because when you have clients, you know, you have a responsibility. You cannot compromise on that. In the periods where I was like really low, I just did the delivery. I was still hopping on calls with the clients. I was helping them through messaging support. I reviewed their calls to see what they can improve, and that basically took me about 30 hours per week. That was like the bare minimum. But that is not the only thing, because if you just focus on the delivery, there isn't any new money coming in, and yes, you need money. So I decided to do 45 minutes of offline work. In this offline work, what I used to do was what I'm doing is the creative stuff, like making videos. This video, for example, is done in an offline work. Writing school posts, because school posts are the most easy way to get visibility, and building kind of like products. Then I have 45 minutes of online work. Basically what that means is I first start answering the clients, then what I do is doing some check-ins. Then what I do is I basically look at my school community to do some community management. Then I am doing some of the DMs, answering conversations to people. The next thing that I do is working through notifications, see if somebody mentioned me, if somebody replied to a comment of mine that I posted earlier. And if I still have time available, I do the engagement. This is the list of priorities that I use. If I just have 45 minutes, it can happen that I'm just answering to clients, doing the check-ins. But let's say, for example, it takes 15 minutes because the clients don't have a lot of questions. Then I go to the next thing, which is the community management. If I still have time available, I go to the next thing and the next thing. So I found that 1.5 hours of work plus the delivery every single day is the bare minimum I need to do in order to maintain the level of momentum that I already have. If you can switch it, not from 1.5 hours but to 3 hours, that is what I'm doing now. So I do 1.5 hours of offline work and 1.5 hours of online work. Then you are building some solid momentum. If you really want to push it, you can do 2 hours of offline work and 3 hours of online work. That will basically like allow you to like skyrocket your progress. That is what I did to get to like 10k per month. And a very good way to determine what kind of season you should be in is to play with the seasons of business. Because in business there are seasons as well. There are times that everyone feels motivated, everybody is on top of their game. And there are times that everything is slow, everybody is losing momentum. So I will quickly run you through basically like the seasons of business. I've been observing this whole creator economy for like 3 years. 1 year observing, 2 year actively taking action. And I kept noticing the exact same things. September and October are great months for business because people are away from, like, people get back from summer vacation. The biggest percentage of the market is on top of the equator. So that means that everybody has summer in the same time and everybody has winter in the same time. It is different, of course, if you live in Australia or in Brazil, which I'm in right now, which is basically like summer. But when I say summer, September, October, it is summer for the northern part of the equator. So that basically means that in September and in October, the most people, they came back from summer vacation, they came back from summer, it's getting colder. They will go back to their jobs and they will think, oh man, I really don't like this job, I should try something else. So they are going to start making investments, buying mentorship and taking action at around that time. At around September and October are, I think, the best months when it comes to business. November, it is getting like a bit slower, but still really decent because I managed to get my first 10k month in November. December is absolutely horrible, the worst months in business. Like you probably notice it now when you are in online business, almost at the end of January, but the momentum is still not quite there yet. Because in December, nobody will think, oh, now is the right time to make the hard decision. No, they will think, first let's celebrate Christmas, then let's celebrate New Year's. Like they spend all of their money, they have no money to invest, they are not taking action. They think, oh, that will happen like in the new year, I have a lot of time. So in January, it is also kind of like bad, but the momentum starts to pick up again. So in January, February, March, that is a very good time to take action again, to build up the momentum. Because then a lot of people will think, oh, now it's the new year, I need to make the most of this year. Let's make 2026 the year, you know. So yeah, a lot of people, they are building momentum or they are seeing a lot of results in January, February and March. After that, it slows down like a little bit, but it's still very decent. Somewhere in June, July, August, then basically it is summer again, and in summer it is like horrible. People are not active, people are not engaging a lot, people are not buying a lot. Still there are people who are active, but in general the whole market is a bit like that. When you are trying to plan at what seasons you are going to work really hard and what seasons you are going to slow down a bit, like you can use the seasons of business to your advantage to maximize the amount of momentum that you are building. Because yeah, you can be really focused and putting in lots of effort in December and in August, but will you get a lot out of it? No, you will get way more out of it when you are this focused in months like September, February, etc. If we understand that business is basically that you are going through two phases, you know, the intensity phase and the consistency phase. One is to build momentum, one is to maintain momentum. The thing that is really important to understand is that most people, they have a really wrong way of seeing how real progress goes. A lot of people, they think like this. Like this is basically like the progress, and this is basically like the time. A lot of people, they think that progress goes like this, you know, that it goes like linear. But if you are in business for long enough and you've watched enough videos, then you know this is not the case. Progress doesn't go linear. Then, you know, a lot of people in business, they think that progress goes like this. that it goes like exponential, but that is not true either. What progress really looks like is something like this. You first have a whole bunch of nothing, you know, you first like see absolutely no results. Then what you will see is like a burst in progress. You know, you see a lot of momentum, this exponential growth. Oh no, oh no. Okay, I guess we need to do it there. First you see a whole bunch of nothing, then you will see this exponential growth. But then what will happen is you will hit a plateau. What do a lot of people do? They get discouraged, or they think, ah, this is not it after all, and they like lose momentum. So they go back to like here, something like that. And they will build, and they will lose. And they will stay stuck at here like forever. But if we do the consistency and the intensity phase like we've been talking about, then this is really what starts to happen. Burst in intensity, plateau, burst in intensity, plateau, burst in intensity, plateau. And this is how you really make progress. If you are not used to it, if you are not in business for a very long time, then it is very confusing, because you think, oh, how can I make so much progress here, but here nothing starts to happen. And most people, they quit, or most people, they give up. This is what mastery truly looks like. You know, these new plateaus. Every time you will break through new different levels of competence. This is not only true for business. Like, look at any skill that you've learned. Look at anything that you've practiced. You had like a burst of progress, then flat, then burst of progress, then flat. So what it is important is, if you are in this flat phase, if you are basically hitting a plateau, don't get discouraged. Like, you will have a new breakthrough eventually. If you do it for a long enough time, you know, it becomes the norm. When it becomes the norm, when it becomes a habit, you don't really have to think about it anymore. So it kind of starts to become like boring and mundane. But then eventually what starts to happen is flow and creativity will start to hop in when it becomes boring and mundane. When that starts to happen, you will have breakthrough insights or realizations. You will experiment with new ideas, and then you will have these bursts of intensity again. When we keep this in mind, there are two phases: consistency and intensity. Intensity, do whatever you want, just as long as you don't burn out, because then you are more far from home. In the consistency phase, just do the bare minimum, keep up the momentum, and the progress will come eventually. You are not stuck, you just reached the plateau, and you just need to keep going. Keep going with this consistency phase. Enjoy your life a bit, spend more time at the beach, travel the world, you know, spend time on relationships, spend time on your health, until you have this other burst of momentum. Then what you're going to do is basically go back into the intensity phase again. Of course, being consistent is difficult when you do it alone. That is exactly why I started my community, Focus Creators, to keep each other accountable. There are weekly free calls where you can get direct feedback, support and accountability from me, and it will help you to get through this consistency phase. So if that sounds interesting, it is completely for free. You can check the link in the description, and yeah, I will accept you. What is important to remember is that a lot of people, they feel discouraged. They are themselves like spending a lot of time and energy, you know, for a very long time, and they don't see any results. And then they look around them, and then they see a lot of people getting these great, amazing results in way less time. Two things that are important to understand. One is, you don't know what is beneath the iceberg. You don't know the years of effort and suffering and struggling they needed to go through in order to get to where they are right now. Second is, the bigger the plane, the longer the runway. For me, it took 15 months to get my first paying client. A lot of people did it in way less. But like, after I got my first client, it took only 7 months to get to 10K per month. So if you are not seeing results for a very long time, like, you might as well just be a very big plane. So yeah, don't get discouraged, stay consistent, and you will be here in Brazil enjoying your life at the beach maybe in a year from now. So yeah, see you.